Donna McClure. Ms. McClure, if you don't mind stating your name and who you represent, and then also your position on this bill.
If I can get this short enough. My name is Donna McClure, and I'm representing myself as a registered nurse and also as a county coordinator for the Texas Nationalist movement and the members who reside in San Patricio and Nueces County. So I prepared a written testimony there, and after listening to several of the other speakers and stuff, I don't think I need to speak to that anymore. There you'll see reference to the victory or death letter from Travis, and you'll see a reference to the Republican Party platform for those of you of that persuasion. But this is not a partisan issue. This is a Texas issue. And it's not a scientific or historically literate necessarily position. This is a position of the heart of the people of Texas. And what is important is not exactly the spot where any person did or did not die. What is important is the story that we all learned. The first time I went to the Alamo was at 6 years old. And our family has a tradition. We go up to the Cenotaph and we put our hand on it. Because that was the first thing we learned, was that is the monument to the heroes who went out there with not enough food, not enough ammunition, asked for reinforcements, but knew they weren't coming, and did it anyway for an idea of freedom that was worth giving their life for. And what that means to Texas is, on any day, whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, you're Texas first. And we see that every time we have a big disaster. When we have fires in the Panhandle, people from Refugio and Goliad pick up their hay trailers and they take hay to help those farmers. When Hurricane Harvey hits, people from Laredo and Del Rio came with food and water and clothing to help people along the Gulf Coast. And that stems from the story that we all learned, at least by the 4th grade, of what those people did. And that sometimes you may not have everything you need, and sometimes it may look really, really hopeless. But the spirit of Texas is still in here. And that's why that cenotaph cannot be moved from where it is, because of its story. And to me, the analogy would be to move that cenotaph and dishonor our Texas heroes would be no different than picking up Audie Murphy's headstone and putting it in the front of the UN and planting a UN flag on it. That's how important this is to me, and I'll tell you a story. After Hurricane Harvey, I was running a Red Cross shelter in Refugio, Texas. And we were full to capacity. And I don't know if you know Refugio County, but it's very small. And all of the devastation from Port Aransas, Rockport, Ingleside, and all of those small towns over there were coming to us because we were the first place on the road out of there to help. And we were there for a long time, and people came in and they were injured, and they had lost everything they had. They had nothing to go home to. And it was difficult trying to figure out how we were going to ever get them out of the shelter itself. Well, eventually, FEMA shows up to help. After the people of Texas had already done more than anything FEMA ever wound up doing. But they came in, they said, okay, what is the one thing that we can do to help you get out of this shelter? And there were 2 guys there. One of them had been in a trailer in Port Aransas when the hurricane hit. It flipped over. He was badly burned and injured, and he had nothing left. And he had met another guy from Ingleside there whose name was, the first guy's name was Tommy, the other guy's name was Juan. And the 2 guys met and they said, we've got to get back over there. You know, we have nothing, so all I want from you, FEMA, is I need a chainsaw and a tent. Because their intention was to go back to Port A, live on the beach, and start rebuilding their community. That is what the Alamo means. That's what the cenotaph means. And that's why it can't be moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McClure. Daniel Miller. Mr. Miller.
It's a little crowded in here today, right?
Got a good group.
My name is Daniel Miller. I'm president of the Texas Nationalist Movement. I'm here representing the, as of 5 minutes ago, 381,458 declared supporters of our organization all across Texas. One of the pillars of our organization's mission is to defend and protect the cultural independence of Texas. Throughout my time of being involved in this fight for the Alamo since 2009, I've crisscrossed Texas. And one of the things is abundantly clear, and that is that people all across Texas revere not just the Alamo as a building and a tourist attraction, but for what it means to be a Texan. It stands at the core of our DNA. Now, I will say this. I cannot believe that it is 2019 and we're actually having to have a discussion about the Alamo and how it should be revered and how it should be treated. I don't think I need to sell any of you on how important the Alamo is, and I don't think anyone in here needs to be sold, whether they're for or against this legislation. But what we have to do is look at what HB 1836 does. And what it does is it puts a pause on what has turned out to be the absolute most controversial, most highly opposed statewide part of the Reimagine the Alamo plan of the Alamo Master Plan. And that is the removal or the moving of the Cenotaph. But see, therein, what I just said, lies the problem. While we heard the city of San Antonio testify today, and multiple times before in front of other committees, we've gotten multiple stories about what is going to happen with the Alamo. As a matter of fact, as I have met with legislators regarding the Alamo Master Plan, both last session and this session, what we have found time and time again is legislators have been given copies of the Alamo Master Plan that differ from one another. So is it 500 feet? Is it going to be moved 400 feet? Where exactly is it going to be moved? The fact of the matter is that we need this pause to save the Cenotaph, yes, but so that we can all get educated. As I've crisscrossed the state over these last couple of years and talked to people about the Alamo Master Plan, another thing that has become abundantly clear is that the people have not been educated. When the city of San Antonio stood up here just a moment ago and testified to the fact that public meetings were held, there was an audible groan from the audience. Yet someone in the back piped up and said, well, that's just because they didn't come. Well, let me just be here to tell you and testify on behalf of the 381,458 people plus every other Texan I've talked to. They didn't know they were happening either. So let's take a 2-year pause. Let's get the legislature up to speed. Let's get the people of Texas up to speed, and let's get their voice involved in this process. And I leave you with these words. Every one of you took an oath when you were sworn into office on the Texas Constitution. Article 1, Section 2 says that all political power is inherent in the people. The people did not get a say in the Cenotaph. The people did not get a say in the Alamo Master Plan, and it is in your hands today to provide that for them. And I sincerely ask you to pass HB 1836.
And with that, for the record, you are for the bill.
Oh, was that in doubt?
No doubt, but I want you to say it for the record.
I am for it.
I know. Thank you, Mr. Miller. We're going to. Chair recognizes Representative Biederman to close on the committee substitute to HB 1836.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. I really appreciate Daniel Miller's advice to us. This is just to put a pause. The original bill was permanent, but this is just to put a pause. And if there's anybody in this room that doesn't feel the Alamo deserves a pause in order not to change the future history of Texas forever, that's a shame. So we're just asking for a pause. There's a few things that happened, some things I want to just clarify. Forrest Bias testified about more reverence. Hard to believe that we have more reverence for our defenders by moving them 500 feet away into the free speech area. That doesn't seem to me. I appreciate the applause, but let's not do that right now, please. Out of line of sight, I don't know how much better a sight you can get at the Alamo than where that Cenotaph stands right now, instead of 500 feet away. Safer and more protected. Obviously, that won't be safer or more protected because it's 500 feet away in the free speech area. More prominent place, the words we continue to hear from the General Land Office and the Alamo Plan. How could it be more prominent than where the defenders died and where the monument stands right now? Then to answer for Lori Houston from San Antonio, City of San Antonio, about the questionnaire where 60% of the people were in favor of moving the cenotaph. Let me read you the question. The question reads, are you in favor of adding the names of the Are you in favor of repair and restoring the Alamo cenotaph and the names of the missing defenders and relocate the cenotaph to a prominent location just outside the historic mission footprint visible from the church? That's the question to answer whether you're in favor of moving the cenotaph or not. Of course, you're in favor of all the other things. That's just not a good question when you have 6 or 7 things to answer yes to. So that's the question. We did 2 questionnaires, and we've done 2 different polls. One by the City of San Antonio councilmen themselves back in September when they had 3 precincts and asked if they were in favor of moving the cenotaph during these deliberations in City Council. And all 3 of the City Council or the City Council precincts were 60% do not move the cenotaph. When they asked the question, are you in favor of moving the cenotaph? Simple question. Then we did a telephone poll a few months earlier throughout the whole state of Texas. Same result, 60% were not in favor of moving the cenotaph, and the question was simple. Unfortunately, there's been some misrepresentations. That's why we need a pause, so that we can talk about the future history of Texas. And again, to come back to Mr. Wilson speaking about the Phil Collins Museum pieces that will be put in the museum. That museum does need to start, being built by 2021, but it doesn't speak at all about the cenotaph. The cenotaph is not in the way, and the current museum plan location does not require the removal of the cenotaph to commence construction. Again, we're just asking for a pause so that we can all talk about these things, and you can hear there's a lot of different stories being told. And so we just want to be able to put a pause. That's all we're asking for. This legislative session is going to go down in history as to how each one of us in the legislature decides what to do with our defenders and with the monument to our defenders and what happens at the Alamo. I just want to read one thing before I close. This is from Colonel William Barrett Travis while he was in the battle, or in the Alamo, waiting for Santa Anna to attack. And he said, let the convention go on, the convention that would make a Declaration of Independence. And we will then understand, and the world will understand, what we are fighting for. If independence is not declared, I shall lay down my arms. And so will the men under my command. But under the flag of independence, Texas independence, we are ready to peril our lives 100 times a day and end it with victory or death. We're just asking for a pause. That's the vote we're taking. And I thank you for this opportunity to lay out HB 1836. And I hope for your favorable vote.
Mr. Johnson, you have a question or no?
Representative Biederman,
Yes.
how would you like an unlikely supporter to your bill?
Wow. Praise God.
No. Be careful. Be careful. Are you in favor of adding names to the cenotaph?
Yes, sir.
Would you be in favor of adding all of the names of the slaves that fought at the battle of the
Yes,
Alamo?
sir.
Do you know their names?
Let's find him out.
Do you know their names?
I can ask some people in the audience if you'd like, if they know the names.
Because there were a lot of slave owners that fought at the Battle of Alamo. But I don't hear nobody over here talking about it. I only hear you talking about those brave men, and I heard them call them by name. But I didn't hear any of the slaves called by name. And I looked through the cenotaph, and there was none there. There's one. Two. So why don't we start looking at the history, and as we want to collect this history, let's collect this history, but let's make sure we tell the entire story. Because if we tell the entire story, then we can be on the same page. But let's not leave certain parts of our history out, because we want to make sure that our children's children understand what the battle was all about. Yep. And it was a battle to ensure the independence of Texas.
Amen.
The independence for Texans to own slaves. So let's make sure we keep that story going too.
Well, we'll definitely keep you informed on this, Jarvis and Representative Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterman.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a quick comment.
Griffin Hawkins.
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for coming. It is so wonderful to see our folks come out and to their capital and to give their views. So I want to thank both sides for being in attendance and sharing your concerns and your views. And I want you to know, as a member representing Alamo City, I want to personally thank each and every one of you for being here. Thank you, as Mr. Biederman closes.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin Hawkins.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Representative. If there's no other further questions, I close, and I just ask for your favorable vote on this, again, for a pause in what happens to the Alamo. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, the chair withdraws the committee substitute to HB 1836, and HB 1836 will be left pending at this time.